Damn, son, where'd you find this? Let's go.
Welcome to the Life of Phys Podcast. I'm your host, Tyson Martin. On this episode, I have Cody Hammer. Cody is an Oklahoma-based photographer, filmmaker, and a member of the Cherokee Nation. Cody's work is a blend of storytelling and artistry, capturing the beauty, resilience, and rich cultural heritage of Native people. Through his lens, he invites us to experience powerful moments of connection with the land, history, and traditions that show more aspects of Indigenous life. And as Cody says, he wants to take photos that make you feel something when you look at them. Now let's hear a word from our podcast sponsor and get to the show. The Life of Phys Podcast is lit by Harlow. Harlow is on a mission to empower creators to elevate their creativity with lighting kits made to last and built to inspire. These lights are bold, beautiful, and powerful because Harlow believes that your lights deserve to be seen. To learn more, follow them on Instagram at Harlow Creators or online at www.harlow.com, and don't forget to use our discount code Tyson10 to save 10% on your order.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Cody Hammer. I am from Skytook, Oklahoma. It's a little bit north of Tulsa, Oklahoma, about 15 minutes. It's here in the States. And I'm a photographer, filmmaker. I started probably in 2018. It wasn't a traditional start, I don't think, but I more or less, I've always been creative, and I could never draw, I could never paint, I could never do any of that. But I always had some kind of niche to be creative, and a lot of that was just imagination. I would literally see little things in my head. Sounds crazy, but I would see things in my head just acting out, fighting. What stuff would look cool. Action figures, whatnot. But my brother and my dad could always draw, so I knew there was. I think that was what kind of sparked me to do something. I was that kid in school. I played sports. That was my thing. I played football. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be in NFL one day. I'll never, I'll be good. I don't have to worry about what I don't want to do in the future or anything like that. I'll be fine, And, it didn't really work out that way. I went to school for a year and, had my daughter at that time and my oldest daughter at the time. And then I was just like, you know what, school's not for me. I'm just going to go into the field and work but I always felt like there was something I needed to be doing. I always wanted to do more, and um, it's a big, complicated story because I'm also divorced. My ex-wife with my older two daughters, and then I met my current wife, and I moved up here to where I live now, Skytook, Oklahoma, and I started working for her tribe here, the Osage Nation, on the reservation here, and more or less, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club here. And it got defunded, I guess, shut down. I don't really know the proper words. I can't exactly remember. And they threw me in communications. And I was there for a couple months in 2018 or 2017 at the end, mid 2017 towards the end. And I didn't really do anything. They're like, hey, you're here. We'll put you somewhere else for the time being, or when that time comes, but for communications, you got to have this degree or that, you do pictures and stuff, but you don't do that. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I don't really want to do that either. And one day the lady that I worked with, she was like, hey, we need a photo for a story I'm writing. Do you care to go take a photo? I'm like, sure, where's the camera? I don't really know what to do, but I'll try it. So I put it on like auto. And so this was the very first photo I took, by the way, ever that was for some kind of work. I went, there was the WIC building they had there in town. And she was like, I just need it for a story I'm writing. Can you take a picture? And I remember pressing the shutter on auto, but still hitting it. And I was like, man, that felt good. Like, I don't know, something about that, it was, it wasn't mirrorless, it was a little Canon Rebel, but just that little, it was just like, man, that I felt that like through my body. You know what I mean? And I got back and it was like the moment I got back, I put it in my computer and I was like, oh, I can edit this. Like, well, what do I do now? And then they were like, well, here's our editing softwares and stuff you can use. Here's Lightroom. People use that. So throw it in there. Had no idea what I was doing, but I put it in there and, did auto and got it out to her. And I was like, man, I kind of like that. And she was like, if you want to go take pictures, just go take pictures. And I was like, okay. So it turned into like, I was just taking photos all around, you know what I mean, at the time. And I was looking up on YouTube how to do this, how to do that. Um, just, I couldn't, it would like grab me and like, I couldn't like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I feel like if you've done it and you know it, you know exactly what I mean. Um, but yeah, that was like the very beginning. So I didn't have it like a traditional start, more or less a job I was in got shut down. I got thrown in a spot and it was like, well, why are you here? Here's a camera if you want to take a picture. And that slowly just turned into more things to do over time. And I got to where I was getting home. I was taking pictures of my kids, taking pictures of the house, flower. You know, we all go through. That's my kid. Don't mind her. She's yelling right now. um, but yeah, yeah, it just, it wasn't like a thing I ever wanted to do. You know, like I said, I did sports, and I just like, you know, I wish I would have known then this is what I wanted to do because I would have. I don't want to say I'd be so far ahead, but I just know at that time that would have given me more of a sense of direction of what I could have went into. You know what I mean? And but I feel like it came at the right time. You know, I was just working. I didn't really know. I was always creative, wasn't sure. But like I said, once I hit the shutter and I saw the picture on there, and I was like, yeah, this is my kind of drawing right here. Like this is it. Like, and I naturally like felt a composition from it. You know what I mean? Like it felt like I don't feel like I took it just very standard. So it was good. It felt really good. And yeah, I mean, and nobody in my family's barely very blue collar. Everybody works, take care of your family, you know. And I felt like, you know, I kind of got out of that, I guess, you know. You know, I mean, even still to this day, my grandma was very surprised at what I do and I get paid. You know, she's like, "You make money doing that?" And I'm like, you know, yeah, I do, you know. Uh, but it's crazy and it's been a good journey and I know there's probably a lot more I missed on that. I was just trying to keep it very quick, you know, because like I said, I'll start to ramble and go and I'll talk about a thing 3 years ago and then I'll mix it with a thing that happened 3 minutes ago and it just, you know, it's yeah and but yeah, and I I couldn't be more happier with like what I'm doing and more proud of what I'm doing, you know, with photography, you know, and now I've slowly well, I'll go back. When all that happened, I worked for the Osage News, you know, and started doing more photos. And then my boss told me there, she was like, "You'll be here for about 2 or 3 years and then you'll leave. I already know it." She said, "Somebody will pick you up, reach out to you about another opportunity." And she's like, and I'm all here for it, like, because that's what I want. I want you to grow, you know. And sure enough, after a few years, I got reached out to by the Cherokee Nation here in Oklahoma, in which I'm Cherokee as well. They were reaching out about the documentary show that we filmed called OCO TV for Cherokee Film, and asked if I'd be interested in being a cinematographer. And they were like, "Hey, you know, a lot of photographers at one point were, or a lot of cinematographers at that point were photographers, you know, and it's all the same thing. You know, you have good composition. You just have moving people now." So I was like, sure, I'll try it out. I love documentaries. I feel like that's what I do in photos as well, you know. And yeah, so now I work at Cherokee Film here in Oklahoma, and I'm a cinematographer as well. So it's only helped my photography, but also filmmaking side as well. So they kind of go hand in hand. So it's been good. And yeah, I pretty much live it. This is like what I do. So
Well, I mean, your images are incredible. You know, I think one of the first ones we really connected on and went back and forth was the girl in a regalia with her fan in front of her face.
mhm.
I saw
Yeah,
that. I saw that one, and it just hits. Her eyes are so powerful in that image.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's when I was like, oh, I need to get Cody on the show for sure. Like
Yeah.
you just capture those real life moments in history, and you're
Mhm.
keeping a lineage of what's happening in people's
Right.
lives captured
Yeah.
on film or captured digitally or on video, whatever it is. There's still that history, you know. So going back to what you said when you started talking about your history, I used to do the exact same things when I was a kid. I couldn't draw, I couldn't paint. Everything was in my head. And then the same when I found the camera, like I was telling you pre-record, I clicked that shutter button and I was like, oh, there's something special.
Yeah.
you know, and some of my first photos I ever did, we had a canoe journey leaving from our hometown here, and they were drumming and singing in one part of this town, and the canoe was going under the bridge I was standing on to capture the photos, and the energy from the drums was going through the road and up through my body.
Mm-hmm.
That was the
Yeah.
first time I'd actually heard drumming live, and so
Yeah.
I was looking around like, does anybody else feel this? And everybody else
Right.
was
Right.
just acting normal,
Yeah.
right? So that's when I knew that I needed to start trying to track down my history and learn where I
Right.
was from.
Yeah.
So, I think where you've come and your story and what you're sharing and how you just took a chance, you had no idea what you were going to do there. You took that first
No.
photo, and I mean, man, look at you now.
Yeah. And like I said, that's how I am. I'm very, even if I think I'm going to probably fail at it, I'm probably still going to try it. That's the way, like, my parents are. And, I don't know. It's one of those things where especially with kids, you have kids, and like, you want them to not be afraid to like do things and not be afraid to fail at them. But I feel like I can only teach that by doing that. You know what I mean? So,
Oh,
sorry. And
100%.
it kind of, it'll make me emotional because, you know, um, been through it a lot, with them and everything. So sorry, man, don't mind me. It's one of them things like I really care about for them.
Yeah,
So
dude. I get it, man. I always pushed off what I believed in myself.
mhm.
And then at last year, so 49 years old,
Yeah,
I'd been telling myself for 2 years, like, oh, I'm going to do a podcast. I got a voice.
yeah,
Let's try it. Let's see what happens.
right.
And no, you suck. You're never going to do anything.
Yeah,
And I honestly, I didn't even know how to use Zoom until the day of the first recording.
right.
I didn't know how
Yeah,
to edit audio,
yeah,
but I wanted to jump in, and I wanted to show all of my children and the people that I know that even when you're getting older, you're getting up in age,
right.
even if you just try. I had no idea what
Yeah,
was going to happen. I had no idea I'd be sitting here a year later talking to you on this thing
right.
or anybody else I've had on the show,
Hmm.
but I just jumped in fully, and I put
Yeah,
a ton of time in, a
yeah,
lot of effort. My wife has been so supportive. Everybody
right.
has just it's been a crazy whirlwind, you know, but
Yeah,
if we don't try, if we don't just jump on these ideas that we have, then we're going to
right.
wander for the rest of our lives.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like I said, back to my parents. So sorry about that. When I start talking
Dude,
about them and the kids, it can get tough in a
never
good way, though.
apologize.
You know what I
Never
mean? So
apologize. That just shows how much you care about them, man. Like,
right.
that is a true emotion, and there's no reason for you to have to apologize for that, brother.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate that. But yeah, man, and I feel like, speaking of the photo with the girl with the fan, Emma, her name's Emma. She goes to Dartmouth now, I believe, and I'm not exactly. I think it's like by like New York. I think it's a school though, college, whatever. She is a very sweet girl, and those were honestly just senior photos for her. She reached out to me, and she was like, "I want to do my pictures in my jingle dress stuff, my regalia," and she reached out to me about doing them, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's do them. We'll have about 30 minutes to do them. And I drove up there, and she's very quiet, but I could tell looking at her that what she really really wanted, like there was so many thoughts in her mind, you know what I mean, whether like she could be loose, or you know what I mean, like I could just tell. And I was like, hey, just do your thing and I'll take care of the rest, okay? And I would joke with her here and there, this and that. And at times there's things that I do where I'm like, oh crap, or I'll say like, oh shit, I scratched my leg, dang, my leg's all ashy now, just little things like that. I know it's kind of cheesy, but the things that kind of help her loosen up a little bit, and after a while. And honestly, that was one of the last photos we did, and she kind of did that on her own. It was just her looking at me, listening to me, and I just went, hold on, wait right there. Like you could, it was just, I don't know, something about it. It's still probably one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. You know, now I will admit it was on my lens I did not want to shoot it on. but I made it happen. You know what I mean? And but yeah, still to this day, I think that's probably one of my favorite ones, just because of knowing her just from that moment. And that's all I've seen her all over. Like when we're during like the Osages have their ceremonial dances here. I see her then and everything. But I know that little moment, like you said, we kind of froze it in time, and that's a moment she'll always have. You know what I mean? And I always have a little story with it. So it's been a really cool thing, and then people love it. So.
So coming that I finally found community,
Hmm.
um, and I'm going to meet them for the first time this year, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
But this is kind of something that I want to learn. Or do you have any advice for me or others listening on how to approach community? And, as while I am a community member, I'm
Hmm.
still on the outside.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any advice for like myself if I want to be welcomed to shoot,
Right.
the ceremony and the
Uh-huh.
people?
Yeah.
How would one approach that?
Okay. Yeah. So, I've actually gotten this question quite a bit, especially on threads. I've been posting on threads a lot lately, and
I love it.
a lot of people have been hitting me up on threads just about, those kind of things. And honestly, I would consider myself on the outside as well, due to the fact that, I am not Osage. A lot of the people that I photograph up here are Osage or Kiowa or something like that, and it's all through my wife, and, um, it's a little different because I think being part of that communications team at the time, they've always taken photos. So like here's the Alonshka, the ceremonial. You can only do photos on the outside. You can't actually do them of the actual dance. But being part of the job, they knew that a camera was always out there, if that makes sense. So I kind of got lucky enough to get in there, uh, because that's what they kind of allowed, I guess. You know what I mean? So I just kind of slowly, everybody that had that job was able to do that. So I slowly got pushed into that. But that still didn't mean that like I didn't have to interact with people and talk to them, because I just don't want to be that guy taking a photo and walking off. Um, but I would say really for that, it came to where, asking, um, it's not even really asking, I guess, talking to, like here they have like cultural departments and stuff like that, you know what I mean, kind of mentioning it, running it by them. um because really honestly here powwows are very public, what I mean, people are there with cameras all the time, but stuff like that, it's really just here they have a committee. Oh, that's it, a committee. I'm sorry, it took me a second. They have committees of every place, kind of like a council of every grounds. There's three grounds here, or three districts, I guess. And a lot of times it's kind of talking to those guys and kind of being like, hey, I'm so and so. And really just being upfront. This is what I want to do. What are my boundaries? What can I not do? Uh, Things kind of like that, that seem kind of obvious, but those are big questions that you have to ask, and I feel like they make the most difference, because and you got to be able to understand they might say no, you know what I mean, like that just happens, and like I said, I got fortunate and lucky enough to kind of fall into it with work, and then people saw me doing photos, just candid photos, because a lot of my stuff is also candid as well, and doing it, and that kind of turned into like, hey, have you ever thought about doing just portraits of people? And I was like, nah. They're like, well, try it out, you know what I mean? And then it was like, hey, I'm giving you free pictures, will you just be a model for me, and let me do things? But um I would say just really talk to somebody that's in that area, that's up there, and kind of just, what can I not do? What can I do? Is it okay if I come take photos? Because sometimes, if you can't, nobody probably can. You know what I mean? So, but if they let you, it's like, okay, well, what are my boundaries? What can I do? And obviously, it just everywhere is different. And there might be people who might look at you weird or whatever, but that's also the moment to be like, hey, how's it going? You guys mind if I take a photo of you? This, that, because that's kind of how I think helped me interact with people. Because I was like, all right, I took a photo of them, they saw me. Am I going to be that guy and just walk off, or am I going to talk to them? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
sometimes a 70 to 200 is a good lens. You know what I mean? Because you're a little far off. But I'm a 50 prime guy. I shoot primed 50s all the time. And so I'm like, I got to be kind of close, and I got to be right there. And, it just kind of turned into, oh, they heard my shutter. Well, hey, how's it going? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, but I feel like that builds, trust, and over time. And the next time they see me, they might be like, hey, you're the guy with the camera, and they try to pose up or something,
Yeah.
like, I'm like, yeah, and I just feel like, even though this isn't my community, um, I guess it is my community, but like, I'm not originally from this community, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I've been kind of brought in by my wife and everything, and everybody here now sees me and they kind of, it's, hey, Cody, and my wife always jokes that now it's like, oh, you're Cody's wife. And it's like, oh, you're not, even though she's from here. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. So, you can probably hear that airplane, huh?
Yeah. That's all good.
You can. Yeah, I was like, well, from like what I do with work, with sound and everything, we have to let these fly over. So like, I naturally just wanted to stop and let it go. You know what I mean? Just the based off audio, I guess. So,
Right
uh,
now, I'm just moving. I'm building a new room in the basement for one of my
mhm.
kids to go downstairs with my other son. And I'm
Okay.
taking over a room upstairs. So I'm actually stuffed in the corner of a kitchen right now.
Oh, I got you. Oh, it's
So
crazy. I was in my kitchen earlier. I almost set up in there.
I have cul-de-sac right out my back door. So
Okay.
there's kids, there's dogs, everything. So I try
Oh,
to like,
okay.
I just want to keep it real. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah,
I don't,
100%. Yeah.
if we have sound effects, it is what it is,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
an we're having a true conversation. We're not
Oh,
just
for sure.
talking about like, the
Right.
Hasselblad or Leica or Fuji or Nikon,
Yeah.
or we're
Yeah.
talking about your story.
Yeah.
So I guess, I'm being that, I am Indigenous. I do have a home community.
Hmm.
I just really want to preserve tradition and culture and protocols. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't want to step on any toes.
Hmm.
And, I'm super nervous about going back,
Yeah.
or going for the first time, I guess I should say,
Hmm.
because I don't know what to expect. And I
Right.
have a hard time. Obviously, talking to people's easy. I can talk
Right.
to people, no problem.
Yeah.
Uh, but I want to do more for the community. I want to learn the language. I want to learn the
Right.
history. I want to learn, and I want to be able
Yeah.
to provide a service and something that I can do to provide for the community, which would
Right.
be my photo skills or recording or,
Yeah.
talking to people, doing whatever I can. So I
Hmm.
guess that's what I was trying to see is, as you being kind of an outsider in the community you live in,
Hmm.
how you were able to get that comfort. And that was such a great way of explaining it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, of course. And like I said, I think I got very lucky because it was kind of my job at the time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and and like you, like, even though I'm not Osage, but I have kids who are. So I take that as like, even though it's not affecting me directly, but it is at the same time, because my kids are, and they're in the language, and and at the time they were going to the emergency, or my third oldest was going to, or my third daughter was going to the immersion here, learning the language. So, and my wife works up there. Uh, so I thought, well, while I'm here doing these photos, and I'm already here, I'm going to try to take the best pictures I can to make people feel very well represented, in the right way. Especially, I'm not Osage, but I am a native photographer, and I feel like it went hand in hand, and it was good to try to do that. And now I have, not only like people I do photos, but like friendships and trust and stuff with people that enjoy seeing me and I enjoy seeing them. So,
Up here, every Valentine's Day, we do the walk for the murdered and missing Indigenous women in downtown
hmm.
Vancouver. And I've missed it
Okay.
2 years in a row now because of my 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
But my wife is a Indigenous support worker. She's part of the local community here, and she captures just these things on her cell phone.
Hmm.
And I've already, like, next February 14th, no matter what day it is, that day is booked off, because I feel like in the pain of the people, because we get a lot of the moms and aunties and grandmas and dads, brothers, sisters, and they share story of the person that's missing.
Right.
I just feel like there's so much power that can be captured.
Right.
You have that one photo that's it's black and white, and then
Oh,
you
yeah.
have
Yeah.
the one Indigenous lady with
Hmm.
the red hand
Yeah.
painted over the mouth.
Yeah.
And man, moments like that need to be shared worldwide because people need
Right.
to understand what our communities have gone through forever.
Right.
Right. We've got the
Yeah.
highway of tears up here
Hmm.
where hundreds of women have disappeared, women and children,
For sure.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to bring light to the men that have disappeared
Yeah. Yeah.
or the struggle that men have because we're told to suck it up and be
Yeah.
tough. And,
Yeah.
we can't be emotional. Like,
Right.
and, and this podcast has allowed me to share my story,
Right.
which my childhood was way rougher than it looked on the outside.
Hmm.
Um, it's affected me my whole life, allowed me to
Hmm.
finally talk to a therapist about it last like
Yeah.
6 months ago. And it gives you such a different perspective.
Right.
What do you take that light box that we capture images in? Is that's your creative outlet? What is
Right.
the connection between that and mental health? Like if you didn't have your creativity, how would that affect your day-to-day mental health?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of, I'm very happy that I found this photography thing, in the way I did. I feel like it came at me at the right time, because, growing up, I didn't, it wasn't like I didn't really have a crazy childhood. I felt like for us, it was a very, it was more of a financial thing. You know what I mean? And that causes things, and I think even though all that was going on, I always knew that my family, my parents, my grandparents, everybody loved being around each other. Everybody loved, being together. It didn't matter. Like, hey, we were broke, but we were broke together. You know what I mean? And, and then it goes back to, like I said, my parents, they did a lot, they sacrificed a lot, for us and everything like that, and that's very instilled in me, but it also, caused a very, one of those things where I'm like, I just don't want, I'm trying to do my best and do better. Cause my dad was always like, hey, I want you to always try to do better. That's my goal is to get you to do better than me. And you're going to want that for your kids as well, and, uh, and I'm sorry, I'm just rambling. I'm just, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Don't know,
um,
man. It's about people think it's rambling when you're doing this, but this is the story. This is how
yeah,
it comes from you. And
right.
it's so important that it
Hmm.
comes across naturally and freely.
Hmm.
You're giving a part of yourself when you're sharing your story with me
Right.
that
100%.
it's not rambling, man. I actually can understand where you're going through your conversation.
Yeah.
So, I always tell people I ramble. I get in these things and I'll just go for like 5 minutes and I'm like, oh, this is about you. Sorry, man. but
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
but it's always so important and it's always a good part of the conversation. So
Right.
it's not rambling. It's just you're sharing the story how you can. And
Right.
that's
Yeah.
important because we hear the steps. We have the beginning, the middle, and the end. And we're
Yes.
knowing we can put those pieces together. So
Hmm.
I appreciate you just being open and sharing with me.
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, and really, it's because I can catch myself thinking, trying to how I want to word it, because I'm a person where I like to, I'm a shower, and it's hard for me to articulate how I want to lay things out, I'm just one of those people, and I think that's why I love photography because my hands are on the camera, even when I'm editing, my hands are on a mouse, trackpad, whatever,
Yep.
that's just how I learn, um, but thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, but I feel like mentally that, going through all that, and like I said, we all loved each other. Everybody was there for each other, and that means a lot. And I wish at that time as a kid, I wish I would have had a camera, because I always think of things that I could have done, what would have just been very candid because I love candid styles, and I could still do that. It's just time, you know what I mean? And I don't want to make that the excuse, but, and I find time. I bring my camera. I might only get 5 pictures, but that's 5 that I didn't have before, and, um, yeah, but I feel like if I didn't have this, I don't know where I would be right now. Obviously having the kids and my wife and, like you were saying earlier, your family and your wife, everybody's very big supporters and mine as well. My wife does a lot, and I feel like slowly she's kind of put things back for her, even though she won't say this, put things back for her, for me, you know, and but she won't say that, you know, but I know that. So I always try to at least tell her thank you when I can, you know what I mean? Or try to do my best on his end to make up for those kind of things, you know what I mean? And yeah, but I feel like if I didn't have this, I don't know exactly where or what I would be doing. Obviously, I'd be just working because I know what I would need to do. But I wouldn't have that outlet of creativity. You know, I mean, because now I literally live frames in my head all the time, you know, everywhere I go, you know, and my oldest daughter's kind of getting um, a little, I don't know, what do you call it? Interest in this, I guess, you know,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
that's been very good for my soul, you know, even though, um, you know, because when I was a kid, like I said, everybody's blue collar, like this wasn't a possibility. It was like, you know, if you don't go to college for your sport, you're not going to be able to go, and then you're just going to go into the field to
So you
work.
just you just said like it's so important for your soul.
Hmm.
So FICE stands for photography heals your soul.
Okay, yeah.
So that
Oh,
was
that's
my
right. Yeah, I've seen
that
that.
that
Yeah,
was my
yeah, yeah.
connection is like
Okay.
I take my camera everywhere.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if I shoot it or not. It's in my bag.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
with me. It's a part of me. It's something
Right.
that I need to have every
Hmm.
single day. If I leave the house and I forget my bag
Hmm.
all day, I feel off.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I may only capture like this morning. I left home and about 15 minutes from us we have it's called Fort Langley. They call it the birthplace of BC. There's an old fort on the river there and everything. Um, so I go there every weekend morning. And sometimes I take photos, sometimes I don't, but the camera's there. But
Hmm.
I have these routines that make me feel complete and normal.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, hearing you say that it's so important to your soul that your daughter's showing some interest,
Yeah.
that's going to be a really, really cool connection to see what she captures through her eye,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
teaching
Yeah.
and the learning together.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be
Yeah.
amazing, man.
For sure. Yeah.
My oldest
Go ahead.
daughter
I'm
is
sorry.
actually,
Hmm.
she's probably, I say to her every single time, she has such a unique fashion and portrait eye with her
Hmm.
photography
Yeah.
that she needs to unleash it on the world because the world deserves to know her name through her work.
Right.
And
Oh
she
yeah.
inspires me. She's the one who got me into photography.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah.
So I
Nice.
love
Yeah.
that little connection, and I can't wait to
Yeah.
see, you know, what you guys can capture together.
Right. Yeah. And it's still very new for her. Like I think what is helping me with it with her is that I would consider myself a very shy person. You know, some people say I'm not, but that's because I know them very well now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like my oldest daughter is a lot like me when it comes to that. You know, she's slowly reaching for something other that isn't sports, and she's not sure what that is. You know what I mean? And I feel like, you know, one day she was talking about wanting a camera, so I went and bought her one, and she got one for Christmas, and I got her a Sony one because I have Sony, so you know, I'm not gonna, I can just give her a lens. You know what I mean? It's a little bit cheaper that way, and you know, and she's slowly, like I said, she hasn't taken many, you know, but it's still the very beginning of it. It's only been a few, you know, month or two, and I think it's good for her to kind of uh I don't know, like it'll be good for her, how do you say it, like I said, because she's shy, and I feel like this is also going to kind of help bring her out and have to interact with people and develop another skill, even if it doesn't take off and doesn't go anywhere. But I feel like for her personally, as a person, it will help, just her become a more, you know, well-rounded person that's not so quiet, not so shy, not, you know, willing to take a chance and put herself out there and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we like tomorrow. I have a thing tomorrow. She's probably gonna go with me, and she is probably just gonna shoot little BTS while I'm doing something. You know what I mean? Just to be doing something. You know,
How
and
cool is that?
yeah, to let her just kind of, you know, find her way. You know, because she asked me a bunch of stuff. You know, and I'm like, you know, I always tell her, I was like, I'm not really teaching you because I want you to learn how you want. You know, she's like, well, I took this photo, it's not that good. I'm like, don't say it's not that good. That's what you wanted. That's what you saw at the time. That's why you took it. That's what you saw. You can only get better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I was like, so don't take it as in like I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to watch you, and if you have a question, I'll help you if I can. But do it your way.
Yeah, dude. Like that is the best way to teach.
Hmm.
I was fortunate enough to be asked to come and speak to, we have a fine arts school in town, and they have a photography major course for 9,
Hmm.
10. So 9, 10 grade nines are just learning photography.
Hmm.
So the teacher, her name was Jen Eccles. What she did was she would allow them to grab the camera, film or digital, whatever they were comfortable with, go out and shoot photos. They would print them out, and then she'd be like, oh, maybe, teaching them the technical without being it technical.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
kids are having fun. They're discovering what they want to do or how to compose a perfect image to them, because it's art. There really is no perfect composition.
right.
Right? We all have a unique eye. We all see things slightly different, So it was really cool to watch that process happen. So the kids
Hmm.
are learning, the traditional triangle while not realizing they're learning the traditional
That
triangle.
they're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I love that. And it was such an honor for me to be in there.
yeah,
I got to speak to them. I told them about me. I'm a very, like yourself, everything I do is candid. I have a
yeah.
hard time planning. So I, I'm learning planning with the podcast, because
Mhm.
it's tough sometimes, but
Yeah,
it's just getting out there, and I see something I like, I take the photo,
yeah,
because that's what was, like you said, that's what was important to me at the time.
yeah.
So shared my story with the kids, how I'd prefer to be an artist over an influencer on the internet. Because
Right.
I want my history. I want my grandchildren to look up one day on the wall of my kids' homes and be like, my grandpa shot that. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want. I want that history for my life.
Right.
But then they called me back in right before, I think it was right before last spring break. And down the hallway of the school on both sides, each student had 2 photos inspired by my talk,
Oh, wow.
shot in
Okay.
the way I like to shoot things,
Hmm.
but edited their way.
Right.
And I got to speak to each kid,
Yeah.
asking them, oh, what did you see? And then seeing what I see, and then thanking them for
Hmm.
sharing. And it was just
Yeah.
such a moving experience.
Right.
And for me, that was hard, because I'm like you, I don't really put myself in front of people. And
Yeah.
at this point, I think I had like 4 episodes out.
Hmm.
And I went and I talked in front of a class with teachers sitting in the back staring at me. And it was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is weird, but I'm going to do it, you
Yeah.
know? So I loved being able to share with the next generation. I want them
Hmm.
to be able to continue what we're doing now, capture
Right.
moments, preserve history.
Yeah.
So do you have any projects you want to talk about? Anything coming up
Uh,
that you want to share?
um, when does this come out? You said April?
April, yeah.
April? Okay.
Even if you have some
Original-
coming out that you can talk
Okay.
about that's coming out in June or July,
Right.
um, I
Okay.
will.
Well, there's
I
one that I probably can't talk about
no. Well,
right
then we won't
now.
talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. But I was trying to remember when, but it's not going to be out for a little bit. But right now, really everything is just kind of the projects I got going are just like I said, more personal. Trying to mix my filmmaking with my photography, a little bit of both. Trying to do YouTube. I don't know what it is. YouTube became a thing where I wanted to just uh, give something. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what that was. I didn't know. I just remember being that kid looking at YouTube and learning and being like, you know what? What if there is because the videos I watched wasn't of anybody that was, native or anything like that. Because there wasn't any really, I couldn't find any at the time. So I kind of had this thought like, well, what if there was? What if that's me? And if there is, there's probably a bunch now. I don't know. I'm not older, but I'm not young. So I fit into this different category. Um, but I just see it as another challenge. So I don't really want to say YouTube's a gig, but I'm doing little projects like that to help me put stuff on there as well. Maybe teach, maybe and not really teach, just show, I guess, and this is how I go about it. Um, but yeah, right now I there's a guy that I work with down here named Riker Six Killer. He does a lot of shorts and stuff like that for filming. So I've been helping him. We've been kind of collabing, and I do a lot of the cinematography and DP work on that. So besides my personal work, I work, like I said, for Cherokee Film. We do a lot of Cherokee stories throughout the country. We'll go to Paris, we'll go wherever, as long as if there's like Cherokee people there that have a has a story to tell, we go there. We're a documentary series, and like I said, I'm a cinematographer on that, so I do that a lot, which I love. I love filmmaking now. It's one of those things, and I told somebody this the other day. That moment when I knew I loved photography, I have finally hit that in filmmaking as well, because now I'm just like I live in that realm of always wanting to film and photograph, and at times I'm like fighting with which one I want to do the most at that time. You know what I mean? Because I see them both in a very stills world and a very moving world. I'm like, all right, which one do I want to do? And I'm like, all right, I'll flip a coin, and go from there. Um, but I right now, like I said, I'm in a process of photograph. I'm wanting to do a bunch of portraits of people throughout the community. Um, I don't know exactly why. I just want to do that. I feel like I have a need to to do that, and especially even in like urban areas. There's a lot of Native people that live here. No, not just in the small towns and countries that live in a bigger city. Here in Tulsa, close to where I live. So I'm wanting to get people in regalia just in town. Because even though there's a city there, that doesn't mean that it wasn't their land or whatever tribe's land that was at that spot. So I feel like it's a step in, and as cliche as it sounds, but I feel like it's important, and I feel like it's important whenever you have a native photographer doing that, you know what I mean? And as long as you can collab with somebody. So right now I'm in the process of that. That's kind of what I got going on tomorrow. I got a few people that I'm linking up with tomorrow to not I'm not getting paid. This is just something I love to do and I want to do, and they're willing to give me their time. Obviously I'm going to give them pictures and photos and stuff, because they're theirs, and I feel like it's important. And like you said earlier, that's something 20 years from now they might show their kids or something like that, and they're gonna be like, who took that? I'm like, oh, this guy, there he is. He's an old man now, but it was that guy right there, and um yeah, so that's kind of what I've been really doing. Like I said, my 9 to 5 is really kind of cut into a lot of my time with my projects, that I want to do, and then how it is too, and then to do some of those, I got to cut into my personal time here with the wife and the kids, and that's a little bit of struggle at times, and but I think like you said, when and sorry to jump back, but like I feel like that's also one of those mental things, it can mess with. And I think my wife knows that I need to do this at times and take these chances and to help with that. I think she can tell like when I'm stressed or whatever. And sometimes me just going out with my camera is enough to just kind of knock me back into where I need to be. I mean, there's times where I'll have some raw photos put on like my drives. I'll just throw into Lightroom and just mess with. And I'm like, all right, I've spent 30 minutes. Like that was a nice little rewind, or
Yep.
something. And I think it's important that the kids see that too. It's okay to take time for yourself, and, because if I can't take care of myself, I'm not going to be able to take care of them, and I feel like that's important. So, but yeah, those are a bit of the projects. I know it's not a lot. Like I said, my work is we do a lot with my work, with my job, and I'm fortunate enough, even though I'm filming, I still get to do some of our BTS at times and everything like that. So I get to do in the photography world a little bit. Um, but a lot of my personal projects are just kind of more or less just documenting people around the area and that are willing to do it. Like I said, I have tomorrow a little thing, and it's 3 sisters. They're all going to be, in the regalia, and I got some stuff I'm going to do. So hopefully they come out pretty impactful, and it should be fun. But I think the message that I want to send with it will be good, and it'll be good. It'll be fun. So I can't wait. I'm kind of excited about it. So
That's awesome, man. Um, I've noticed I'm on Threads more than anything. I really enjoy that
Yeah.
platform. I
Right.
love what I mean when I say I'm an Indigenous photographer series you keep putting up.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It tells the story in each cycle of images you put out. Like
Hmm.
it's super cool. I also noticed on there you're starting to make a push with your YouTube, which I
Yeah.
think, I'm taught through YouTube University myself, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's how I learned. But I can tell you when I started looking and searching for Indigenous photographers to try to have on
Mhm.
the show,
Right.
because one, I love the culture. I love our culture. I love
Mhm.
what it means, what the people stand for.
Right.
I love it all. So I really want to hear everybody's perspective from all around the world
Mhm.
on the culture. But there's not a lot of people out there on YouTube that are Indigenous that are putting their work out as far
Right.
as a photographer or a cinematographer.
Right.
Um, so I think you have yourself a pretty niche little area
Yeah.
that is going to be important, because there's going to be a youth from a community that's like, is there anybody like me? And then he
Mhm.
types in, native photographer, and then you pop up and he's like,
Mhm.
there is, click.
Yeah.
And that's when the mind opens and everything starts
Mhm.
going. So I think you've definitely got something there for sure.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to watching you continue to grow that. I'm trying to
Yeah.
I'm trying to grow mine as well. And no, it's weird. YouTube is a weird thing for me.
Yeah. And that's me too. You know, I will admit this is the first year that I've really pushed it. You know what I mean? Like, uh, I have like two or three, videos I put before that are like private on my thing. They were just kind of trial runs, but like I don't know. I just never really pushed it. And I told my wife, I was like, I think this year a goal of mine. Like I told myself, I don't care. I don't care what it leads to. I'm just going to do it. And it's slowly, I have people comment on it, and everything and whatnot, and there's people that's found me, and whatnot. But back to what you're saying, no, I do love Threads. I feel like Threads is a nice refresher for me, so that's why I've been joining it as well. Um, but yeah, YouTube has been a little up and down because I hate seeing myself on camera. I at first I wanted to be that guy. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do shorts and what would you call it, films and whatever, and just try to do that. And I was like, no, with photos, I feel like people feel a personal attachment, and now this is the moment I can add like a more of a personal feel from the face that does those. You know what I mean? And I was like, I got to be in them, even if I'm just talking and saying whatever. I feel like I need to be in that. And I feel like if I'm real, then people that'll come across. And it's just like photos. I got to start somewhere, and if I really love it and want to get better at it, it will get better. So and for at least like the way it looks, and personal stuff. If it doesn't grow, it doesn't grow. But it was, like I said, it was a challenge for myself. So it's I mean, in the last month, it's been the busiest it's ever been, and I'm fortunate for people to even give me a chance to just look at it, because I'm just some dude here in Oklahoma that's just trying to make art and be a dad and a husband and live life and try to make some kind of impact somehow. So
Well, you're definitely making an impact. I can tell you that
thank you.
much.
Thank
You
you.
know, your work is very powerful,
Hmm.
and I like that you like to I've watched some of your videos. You like to have fun.
Hmm.
Having fun is so important too when we're
Yeah.
trying to be creative, and especially when we're nervous about what we're putting out.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I'm not a joker, or if I'm not the class clown like I used to be, I feel
Right.
off and awkward.
Hmm.
Um, so you mentioned that 50 millimeters is your focal length of choice.
Yeah.
So you just, what is it about the 50 millimeter that is so important?
Okay. Yeah.
I
So
want to hear from your soul, man. I want to
yeah.
know
So
exactly.
I'll explain how that came about. So when I went to the communications job and I got the camera, I got a Canon Rebel. And of course, it's a crop, whatever. But all they had was they had a like a it was like a slower, longer. What do you call that? Focal length. I forgot what is like 100 to 300. 5.6 or whatever. And they also had a 50, and it was a 1.8. It's one of those little nifty 50s for the Canon. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I realized when I was trying to do manual, I was like, this one feels like it's brighter. You know what I mean? And like I felt like when I was throwing the zoom on the other one, it was getting darker. Had no idea why. You know what I mean? I was just like, I'm going to use this 50, and I was like, it's kind of far, but we'll see. And I remember the first event I went to with it, I put it up to my eye and, hit the autofocus, and I was like, man, it's not zooming. What is going on? I didn't realize that, the prime at the time meant that's just the focal length it was. And so that kind of made me have to actually like move around a little bit. So I shot like 2 or 3 events with a 50, even like big groups. I was shooting group shots with a 50. I was just getting way far back on a crop sensor, which, cropped it down to like almost an 80, maybe. I don't remember that aspect ratio. Um, but I realized that I kind of trained myself to see everything like that. That's how I was shooting photos all the time. Once I realized like, all right, I'm gonna practice manual, because I would do half the event in auto and I'd switch it to manual to do the other half. Because I was like, I got what I needed. This is time to practice. I'm doing it live. And so I was like, all right, well, they said, try to keep it wide open. I was like, I'll put it at 1.8, leave it there, and then I was just doing shutter speed from there. And I was just like, man, this, I kind of like what it's doing. I didn't know what it was doing, but I liked what it was doing. And then, once I ventured into the full frame world, I threw a 50 on, even though it wasn't as far as an 85. But I think for me, the 50 is a very good compression, because I shoot a lot of portraits, you know what I mean? But I can
Yeah.
still be back a little bit. I feel like you kind of get out of that wide world. Even when I shoot wide shots with it, I still feel like it gives a very nice compression with the person from the background, because I shoot everything wide open. I'm that guy, I'll shoot stuff, stop down a little bit, but I honestly shoot with like a variable NDs on too. So I'll shoot wide open and just turn it down on the ND, you know what I mean, if I need it to be a little darker. Um, but for me, I feel like it's not too tight, not too compressed, but once you're up close, it feels good. It feels natural, and like you said earlier, like that's how I see, like I see everything like that, even in filming, I'll shoot a wide shot with a 50, it's just how I am. I love that compression. 35 is really good. I love a 35, like the photo I was talking about with the fan, I ended up leaving my 50 at home by accident, and I only had my 35 with me, and I was like, oh dang, like everything's a little bit wider. I was like, well, I'll make it happen. I'll just take a few steps up, and of course it looks a little different, but just 50 to 85 is my range. You know what I mean? If I could only have a 50 and an 85 prime, that's probably all I would use. Just because I'm that guy, I'm that weird guy where I'll take 20 steps back just to use that 85. I feel like the cameras, they're so expensive, I'm gonna push them to their limits. So yeah, and I just and like I said, I might have taught myself a very bad habit, but I learned that bad habit really fast. You know what I mean? So like, and that's just what I do. That's how I live. That's how I run it. So, but yeah, that's what happened. I think that's just my area.
I just actually recently fell in love with the 50 mil focal length. So that's why I thought it was
Okay.
a funny
Right.
connection. I was a Fujifilm shooter for a long time, and I just recently switched over to Nikon.
Okay. Nice.
So I picked up a ZF and a Voigtlander 50 mil f2.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
And one photo I took of sunrise over
Mhm.
the canoe club in Langley, on the river, and I start breaking down, looking into the detail of the shot in the water.
Yeah.
I like the way it was composed, but then I start looking at the detail,
Yeah.
and I came home and posted everything Fuji for sale. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see why you like the compression from the 50 mil. I think portraits are something I really want to learn.
Hmm.
It's something I struggle with, trying to feel confident that I can do it.
Right.
So I accepted a friend's wedding in August. I'm going to go shoot their wedding. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. I've done
All
two
good, man.
weddings, and I was like, Yeah, I'm all right. Like it's nice, and I will like if people really need it and need somebody, I will. But man, I'm not a confident wedding guy. Even though I do portraits and stuff, it's just so much. There's so many moving parts at times with weddings, and it can get a little intimidating. But
I'm very
yeah.
grateful it's very small.
Oh,
It's
nice.
very
Okay.
small,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's up in the interior here. It's a beautiful area. I know the area well.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna. My wife is coming with me, so I'm gonna make her my secondary shooter.
Perfect.
Because it's
Yeah.
gonna be we're gonna be shooting it on the dock, but it's shaped like a T.
Okay.
So it's gonna be. I want the picture behind them with the
Right.
person who's marrying them, but I
Yeah.
also want to be able to shoot them from the other way to get the front. So
Yeah, to get the front of it. Yeah.
really hard to do when you're
Just
by
so low.
yourself and you can't get past.
Right.
You don't. Oh, excuse me. Separate the bride and groom. I need to walk by.
Yeah, let me hold that thought real quick. Let me get by. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm super nervous. I'm going to shoot it on digital, but I'm also going to break out the Hasselblad 500 for it as well.
Okay. Yeah,
To do a couple
nice.
of portraits with that, with the 80 mil
Yeah.
on it, and
Okay. Yeah.
we'll see.
Is
We'll
that
see how
is
it
that
goes.
film?
Yeah, 120 medium format.
120? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I've slowly ventured into the film world. I was shooting with like a Leica R3, like an older Leica. They call it like the poor man's Leica, just a little 35, whatever. And I got it already kind of dingy, so it officially kind of just broke. You know what I mean? And it could probably be fixed, but I'm like, I wasn't that invested. It was a $20 camera, and a guy that I knew was selling a Mamiya RB 120, whatever. And I was like, all right. And then I realized when I was shooting with my other film, 35, what would you call that? 35, not takes, 35 shots, I guess, whatever, or exposures or whatever, exposures, was just too many for me. It took me forever to get them like done. And then I got three of these 120. I had Ilford and two Portras, and for this Mamiya, and I have yet to get them processed. But something about 10 to 12 photos is right in my range when it comes to film.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and like I realized that I was wanting to shoot more with it, but when I had the 35, it felt like I was limited, which is weird because I felt limited with more, but I felt more with less.
Yeah.
I don't, it does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, cool. Yeah, I eventually you'll see. I have some film stuff, but like it's not great. But yeah, there might be film stuff in the future coming out. I actually plan on taking that with me tomorrow too. That you brought that up,
Nice.
just to see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, this should be good.
Yeah. That's
Good luck,
awesome.
and good luck on the wedding. The wedding, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Well,
makes me nervous, and I'm not even there.
it's not till August,
Okay.
and I've already been like, all right. His wife is already picking some certain type of styles of shots,
Right.
right? So I said, hey, tell her to put some images together, what she likes.
Mhm.
We'll go out a couple months before the wedding,
Yeah.
and we'll just stage it, and I'll make markings for how the dock is going to be laid out,
Right.
and we'll just take some sample photos. That way,
Mhm.
I know how your skin tone reacts to editing. I know what it is you're looking for, things like
Right.
that, right? So at least I have that benefit,
Yeah.
and that means I need to finish the roll of Cinestill that's in my Hasselblad.
Yeah.
It's got
Okay.
12 shots, and I think I got 10 more to go. And it's been in
Yeah.
there for a year. So
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Something about it. And it could be just me being excited about the camera. Maybe I was just ready to go get after it. But it's been nice. So we'll see. I need to buy more. I just used that last portrait. I have three rolls or three canisters or whatever it is waiting to be sent off. We have places here, but um I don't know. We'll see. It was just something I wanted to do. Everybody was doing it, and I was like, I'll jump on board and try it out.
yeah.
So,
Well, if you have
but
any questions on film, Ainsley Stewart, he's
okay,
based in Houston, Texas.
okay,
He was my 2 episodes ago. He's
okay,
a super close friend of mine. He's doing this killer Kodachrome project. He found some Kodachrome slides, and
okay,
he's built a whole family tree
yeah,
of the people. But he knows film.
Okay.
better than anybody I know. So he's not on social media anymore. So I think it's AinsleyStewart.com.
Okay.
But send him messages, tell him you're a friend of mine. If you have
Okay.
any questions, he can definitely
Yeah,
help
maybe
you
I'll
out.
check that out. Yeah, because there's so many times where I'm just like, like I don't have a meter. I'm literally eyeballing everything. You know what I mean? I even did
Oh
that
yeah.
when I was filming, doing the other one, the like I had. But like trying to figure out whether I need to push something, not push it. It's. But I mean, if I think from talking to me, I just do it. I'm not. I don't know. It feels weird. I'm not a. I don't feel like I'm wasting money if I'm having fun.
100, oh dude,
You know what I
100%.
mean?
I fully get
Uh,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like I'll spend. I have 4 kids and it's me and my wife and 2 dogs. I'm like I spend however much money every day to eat or how much we spend. I'm fine with dropping $15 on something that I can maybe get something great out of it. And if I don't, it was worth the shot. So
Yep.
yeah,
Exactly. Uh,
yeah.
Cody, where's the best places for people to find you and see your work?
Okay, for me, it's probably Instagram _ Cody Hammer _. I'm also on TikTok. It's just at Cody Hammer. YouTube's Cody Hammer. I have a Facebook, but Facebook really isn't where I put any of my. I have stuff on there, but it's more of my grandma's on Facebook. She just likes to see the kids and stuff. So, but really, Instagram and Threads have been my main thing, and it's all just at my name. So, I don't know where I'm at on the search bar, so I might be in there a little bit, but yeah, those 2 places are the best places for me. So
Perfect. Well, Cody, it's been amazing having you on the show. I'm grateful to call you a friend now. I look forward
yeah,
to
thank you.
watching you grow and keep producing what you're doing because it's so important to our culture and for the people that can see it from the outside.
Right, right. Yeah,
Um,
well, thank you.
so
I appreciate that.
so thank you for what you do. But I'd love to keep in touch. Um, you know, I look forward to watching everything progress. I'm going to
Mhm.
have a ton of questions about portraits and
Oh
things
yeah,
for you because
yeah, yeah. Please, yeah, send them on, man. Like I said, one thing that I love to do is I can talk this like all day. I feel like you're probably the same way. I'm not a very big technical guy. I love talking creative stuff with creative people that are like-minded, so yeah, anything, just send it, and if I don't know, we won't know together.
oh man, appreciate it. All right,
Yeah,
dude. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. And
you
again,
too.
thank you for coming on the show. I look forward to putting it out there and letting people learn from you.
Perfect, thank you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody that's going to listen in and everything, so thanks, man.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Life of Phys Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed our show, and don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to bring you content and the stories of our incredible guests. And remember to stay connected with us on all social media platforms. It's at LIFE_OF_PHYS or on the internet at www.lifeofphys.com. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day.